The CRTC wants to know how radio, TV, and digital platforms in Canada can best meet the needs of Indigenous viewers, listeners, and content creators. Join the conversation today at crtc.gc.ca/indigenous-broadcasting.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Le CRTC veut savoir comment la radio, la télévision et les plateformes numériques au Canada peuvent mieux répondre aux besoins des spectateurs, auditeurs et créateurs de contenu autochtones. Joignez-vous à la conversation aujourd'hui au crtc.gc.ca/radiodiffusion-union autochtone.
Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Thursday, May 9th. We return once more to a Winnipeg courtroom where a non-Indigenous man on trial for murder now says he did kill 4 Indigenous women, Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Marcedes Myran, and Buffalo Woman. It means the judge must decide not only whether Jeremy Skibicki killed the women, but whether he's criminally responsible. As his defense submits, Skibicki has a mental disorder. With more, T.R. Wheatley. A note that this story includes some disturbing details.
It's the first day where people inside the courtroom started hearing testimony about how all 4 women were killed by Jeremy Skibicki. Before the judge entered the room, red tobacco ties were offered to those attending the trial. Now, this is a ceremonial item that's meant to help carry your prayers from the physical world into the spirit world. This gesture was meant to help those attending as they would hear some gruesome details. Crown started off by telling the judge Skibicki met his victims at a homeless shelter in the inner city and that all 4 are vulnerable Indigenous women. Crown said all 4 killings were calculated as each one was choked and killed in Skibicki's bathtub. They said that Skibicki did vile sexual acts with the women's bodies, including necrophilia, and then disposed of their bodies like garbage. The Crown claimed Skibicki continuously acted out of hatred, and this was not a case of not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder. Instead, it was, in the words of the Crown prosecutor Renee Lajamodier, intentional, purposeful, and racially motivated. In the coming days, Crown said they would have over a handful of witnesses, including those who helped conduct a search of the Brady landfill where the torso of Rebecca Contois was found. Much of the day was spent talking about Contois. A video of Skibicki's interrogation was shown in court. It was recorded on May 17, 2022 and lasted 7 hours. He had no beard at the time. Detective Greg Allen of the Winnipeg Police was one of the interviewers. He was also the first on the witness stand. Court heard Skibicki tell Allen, "I really just wanted to see how far I could go because the criminal system is a joke." Allen also said that when Skibicki was arrested, he showed no signs of mental distress. He appeared calm and told Allen that he wasn't on any psychotic meds, but that he was self-medicating with marijuana. Also revealed that Rebecca Contois' head was found in a green bag in a garbage bin in a back alley behind Skibicki's apartment block. The audio recording of the 911 call made by the man who found her head in the early morning hours on May 15 was played. Transcripts show the caller said he's a salvager going through bins looking for clothing. The caller said he moved the bag out of the bin but did not touch the head. "I took the bag only for fear that the garbage truck would be coming soon." Meanwhile, Skibicki himself sat facing the judge most of the time, not even moving his head to look at any video from his confession. The seats inside were filled with family members from all 4 women and supports from many Indigenous organizations, many of whom wore red. The women wore ribbon skirts and some of the men wore ribbon shirts. When video and audio played inside, many of them sat with their heads down and their eyes closed. The trial continues for the rest of the week with more witnesses from the Crown. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And for more in-depth coverage of this trial, visit aptnnews.ca. And if you've been triggered by any aspect of this story, supports are available 24/7 at 1-844-413-6649. To Thunderchild First Nation, some 90 kilometers northwest of North Battleford, Saskatchewan, where one person has been shot following an incident. And according to RCMP spokesperson, someone called the Turtle Ford detachment Tuesday morning to report an injured person on Thunderchild. When they arrived, officers found a male with an injury consistent with a gunshot wound. Taken to hospital by EMS, his injuries were determined to be non-life-threatening. A search of the area near the incident produced a firearm. Sources told APTN News the shooting was gang-related and that the First Nation was put into lockdown for about 30 minutes as a precaution. The RCMP investigation continues. Still in that province, the killing of an Indigenous man in Saskatoon 18 years ago remains unsolved, with no one connected yet to his death. Now, city police have renewed calls for anyone with new information to come forward. Found dead by police in an apartment on Saskatoon's 22nd Street West back in early May of 2006, 23-year-old Huey James Assiniboine died of a stab wound. At the time, police believed Assiniboine and another man got into a fight with a group outside the apartment building. Stabbed during the fight, Assiniboine would make his way into the apartment, dying just minutes later. No suspects were ever arrested. The Woodland Cree First Nation in Alberta and Obsidian Energy are at odds. The First Nation rejects the company's efforts to expand its drilling operations in its traditional territory. A series of earthquakes, which rocked the Peace River region in November 2022, is also cause for concern. Quakes Obsidian disputes any responsibility for. And recent video shows a company rep handing a court injunction to Woodland Cree leadership.
I'm going to file this with the Great Spirit right now.
An order to stop blocking access to one of their sites. An injunction Chief Isaac Labakan Avaram dropped into a nearby fire pit. The chief maintains Obsidian staff have acted without integrity in their territory and wants the company to come to the negotiating table.
There's rules to be followed and respectful engagements that needs to be done. There's been a ton of impacts in our territory and the lack of accountability. They were proposing to us, it's basically a mega build, and we're not just going to have it come in without proper consultations and accommodations.
And in a statement to APTN News, Obsidian Energy says, quote, while Woodland Cree senior leadership rejected our most recent proposed economic relationship agreement, we are open to meeting with them to further discuss the potential for an agreement, unquote. And that's your APTN News Brief for Thursday, May 9th. I'm Rick Harp.